If you're looking for ideas of businesses to start with practically no money, then you've come to the right place. Well, here is some businesses that you can start literally tomorrow with practically no money. Let's get into the video. A cleaning business is probably the easiest, if not one of the most easiest businesses you can start. Because you don't need any specialist tools and literally anyone could be a customer. So your main costs are probably only going to be sponges or buckets, some rubber gloves and some cleaning products. And this is all stuff that you can pick up from the supermarket overnight. If you wanted to try and make more money or things were going well, you could specialize in more niche areas of cleaning. For example, carpet cleaning pays very well. I know this firsthand as I had a rental property where I had to pay a carpet cleaner £400 just to clean some carpet. So that is something that you could move on to potentially, as I would say everyone loves to have a clean house. Well, most people do anyway. One of the other things that I like about this business is that it is a repeatable business, because if you are cleaning someone's house or an office or some kind of property, chances are you're going to have to go back either monthly or weekly or every couple of days. So it can be quite easy to build a reoccurring customer base. I always see people in Facebook groups in villages and cities asking about cleaning recommendations and trying to get a cleaner for a house or somewhere. So it shouldn't be too hard to get customers without having to spend a lot of money on marketing. So this will give you a good start of getting referrals and reviews to get you more credibility and get you more customers further down the line. Another business that you can start for practically nothing is creating reels and short form content for estate agents. I recently spoke to an estate agent who was valuing a property of mine, and we got onto the subject of how they did their marketing and how they got their customers through the door. And it turns out they spend quite a lot of money on getting short form content made. I was actually pretty surprised how much they were being charged for what I would say was a pretty basic reel for Instagram. They were being charged £75 a reel per house, so you can imagine how many houses an estate agent might list and how much money there could be made quite easily. Because all estate agents need to create content for the properties that they're trying to sell. Because if they don't showcase and market the properties, then they're never going to sell on their own. Not only this, but it also helps to build their online brand. Especially now that we live in a more digital world, estate agents are more likely to want to spend more money on social and video content. Because it's fair to say, not as many people are walking down the high street and looking into windows of old printed out photos. For this business, you literally just need an iPhone with a good camera or any phone with a good camera, and to be able to drive to the property and take some videos and do some basic editing. And then once you have filmed the property and edited the footage, all you need to do is apply some royalty-free music, like something from Epidemic Sound, which I use, to finish things off. So if you have a good phone, a laptop, and like walking around houses all day, then this probably would be your dream business. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Scott, I don't have a portfolio. I don't have any work or existing clients. How am I going to get this work on? Well, that is actually part of the beauty of this business, is that you can make your own portfolio and do your own practicing around your own house or friends and family, then send that work to estate agents or show them and say, hey, this is what I can do for you. What do you think? Obviously, you need to make sure that you are showing them the best work that you can do. The only downside to this business is if you don't drive, it is going to be extremely hard to get to one property to another. So if you don't drive, I'd probably give this one a miss. Another business I would suggest would be freelance copywriting. With every business seemingly trying to make so much content across various different platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and their website, then there is no shortage of work when it comes to copywriting. There's so many areas which you could specialize in and make a pretty good income. You could write the copy for people's websites, you could do people's blogs, you could do menus, you could do Instagram captions, you could do people's Twitters, You could be a ghostwriter for a personal brand and do all their LinkedIn. There's just so many different things that you could try and attack. It is actually quite hard to narrow down, if anything. Again, with this business, there is a good chance that it is going to be repeatable business. So if you do a good job, you could have a client for a very long time. But the main thing here is that you need to do a good job. Copywriting is a hard skill. It's something which I actually struggle with myself, and I am constantly trying to improve. But like any skill, the more you do it, the better you get. But for me, I find it pretty difficult. However, if you're good with your words, then this is a business that you could start literally tomorrow, working from home or on the other side of the world, because you can be remotely based. As long as you've got a laptop, internet connection, and some time to be creative, then that is pretty much all you need. Now, this business is probably actually the most physically demanding and probably maybe the hardest one to do out of all of them. And that would be having a landscape gardening business. Here, I would suggest you start with doing basic garden clearance and cutting grass, because that is probably going to be the easier stuff. But the other negative with this is that obviously it is going to be weather dependent. If the weather is bad that day, it's not going to be an enjoyable job. But when it is in the summer and you're outside and in fresh air, it is going to be a lot more enjoyable than most jobs. Again, the beauty with this business is there is reoccurring revenue to be had, because trees grow and grass grows, and these things need to be maintained. Over time, you could work your way up to bigger projects, but you would probably need some bigger tools along the way. Just to give you an idea of what money you could make doing this, I got quoted £1,000 just to have a tree cut down and some waste taken away. So there is definitely money to be made doing landscape gardening. And like I said, this is going to be a physically demanding job, so it's not something that you might want to do forever. But when jobs are dirty or undesirable, then there is always money to be made doing those jobs. Now, this last business idea is a little bit different, but hear me out. And this would be doing freelance credit control. Now, this one's a little bit different, but it does require very good communication skills. One of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue, business owners have is cash flow and making sure they get paid on time. If you were to reach out to a load of companies and offer a freelance credit control service, I think you would be surprised at the number of people would be interested. Because chasing outstanding debts or bad debts and payments that are due are very time consuming. For this kind of business, you could probably charge a small success fee of, let's say, 10% of the invoice value that you retrieve. There's a lot of small businesses out there that can't afford to have a full-time credit control person or full-time accounts person doing this role, so I am sure there would be a decent level of interest if you were to go after small or medium-sized businesses. Because typically these kind of businesses rely on having a good cash flow. So having a freelance success fee based arrangement could be a very effective way of doing things for them. Similar to the copywriting business, this is something that you could do remotely and you don't need much to get started. But like I said, you need to have very good communication skills and it could be quite hard work and time consuming.